Yes, it is wonderful to be with all of you here today. So the subject of my presentation, and I think I can see people. There's a light. When you're up on stage here, you don't know that the light is right in your face, so I'm going to try to peek out here every so often. So the subject of my presentation is blockchain. Blockchain, cryptocurrency, which I'm sure most people here in this room have heard something about, whether it was Bitcoin, Ethereum, some friends of yours who tried to convince you that it was worth buying some, a token you heard about, maybe even a project that was related to supporting journalism. So I've spent the past year on something of a journey, and I'm here to share with you what I have learned in the past year about blockchain, trust, journalism, and consumers. So, a little bit about me here. I'm currently between contracts, which is what my dad says when he's unemployed. That's sort of another way to think about it. So, let's talk about what is trust? What does trust look like in the digital age? You know, we are still, I think everybody in this room is a human. I know we've been talking about bots and about technology and about automated processes, about efficiency, optimization. As somebody who worked at Google for several years, I deeply understand and appreciate these concepts and the importance that they have in the ecosystem of how anybody consumes technology. Human beings are wonderful at all kinds of things, and I would argue that we should continue to give ourselves that credit as human beings. Meaning we can have substantive conversations with each other. You don't actually need a bot for that, just as a reminder. You could find a friend, a loved one, a colleague. You don't have to go to a bot, I hope. But yes, they can, of course, make all sorts of interactions more interesting, faster. You can get information in ways you couldn't before. Blockchain and the idea of it is about distributing trust. So I'm going to try to break down some of the terminology that people might hear when they think about blockchain or cryptocurrency and all of these buzzwords, and everybody gets caught up in the technical aspects of it. And I know, and I suspect that a lot of you here in this room are focused on technology. You're developers. You think about sort of the cutting edge of all of this. And as a reporter who covered science and technology my entire career for 20 years, that's how I thought too. Look ahead, the future, what's next, what's out there, what's innovative. So blockchain speaks to people in journalism, I think, because of its focus on trust. And if everybody who's attached to journalism is worried about trust, if that's the core issue of what we're talking about, trust, do our readers trust us? Do we trust the sources we're talking to? Do we trust the institutions that are talking to us about whatever it is that they're doing? Do we trust the centralized entities like Google or Facebook or Twitter or whoever to put our best interests ahead of profits and money and revenue and growing a user base? What about us? What about what matters to us, right? Speaking now as everybody in this room, we're all a citizen of the world. We're all consuming news. We want what? The truth. So how do you get to the truth? How do you trust anybody in this room? Does blockchain solve trust? I'm going to leave that as a thought bubble right up here, and I would like all of you to just think about that. I have my own thoughts on it. I have some things I'm going to share with you to help kind of just get you thinking about what it means and how it works. But just leave that in your head for just a second. Okay. What do all the terms mean? What is this all about? Why do we have to learn a new language? Because that's what I've been doing for the past year. Remember how I said I can't speak Spanish or French? I can barely speak English. So now I'm trying to learn how to speak blockchain, which is an entirely other language of terms and concepts and ideas. So I'm not going to go through all of these because this isn't a lesson, okay? This is me sharing what I learned. But there are terms out there that really can be simplified in ways that I don't think that many people get an opportunity to consume. So blockchain is just a bunch of computers, okay, all talking to each other in different ways, trying to verify information. And when Aaron's talking about identity and trying to create a database, a trusted database of journalists, right? I think that blockchain actually has a fantastic potential application for something like that. Because we're talking about permanence in blockchain, we're talking about a unique identity, and we're talking about something that could potentially travel with you through the web in lots of interesting ways. So I'm not going to, I love what Aaron is up to with PressPass, but just as a way to think about what does this mean? Decentralized, distributed, right? So if you think about Google or Facebook or Twitter or any other central banks, right? Take any centralized entity. They have centralized servers that all of our data runs through. Runs through it. They use it for whatever they need. They send you a newsletter. They ask you to get the latest, special bank account that gives you a discount on your checking, your checks that you write or something, or your fees. Okay, so they know a little bit about us, and we're okay with that because they have our money, right? Right? They have our money, actually. They have our money. Is everyone aware of that? The banks have your money. Okay, so you're trusting a bank. I don't know. What do I know about Chase Bank? Okay, that's my bank, Chase. Do I know anybody there personally? No, actually. Do I interact with them in any meaningful way other than a chat bot or a phone call to try to tell them that I was coming to Argentina? So they had to change my profile so I could use my credit card, my bank card. Okay, that's it. But I've given them all my money. Wow. That's kind of amazing, right? I don't know, just as a thought, as you think about who you trust and why, all of your money is in your bank, all of it. So if people are unsure of how to trust a news organization or journalists, I think we have some work to do, right? What are the questions that people have from both sides of this coin? Journalists have questions about how do I instill trust? Is it about more credibility indicators? Is it more about showing you that all of my work is right here? Transparency. Look, here's everything I did. Look, here's my notebook. Do you want to come with me? Hearken? Do you want to come with me and tell the story? Can I show you everything? What else do you want to know? Here are the people I talked to. Do you want to hear the recording from the interviews I did? I don't know. Like, what will help you to trust whatever I share with you? How transparent does a journalist have to be in this day and age with the truth? If it's the truth, then you shouldn't have to worry, in my opinion, so much about transparency. I'm sorry I'm being a little bit provocative here this morning. But the point is that the truth is ultimately what matters. And if everybody in this room who's a journalist, who's a practicing journalist, it's all I've ever known as a career. I was the editor of my high school yearbook. Went on to everything else, okay? If you know the truth, you, each person here, not your editors, not the readers, not the people commenting on the stories, you, if you know the truth, shouldn't that be enough? I'm just asking, okay? Just asking these questions. So then you have citizens, people out there, who are journalists, right? Going back to PressPass, who are they? What are their motivations? Are you writing these stories to try to stir up trouble? Journalists, right? Opinions, thoughts, ideas, stuff people don't like to hear, right? Remember the truth? Remember that expression, the truth hurts, the truth matters? Sometimes people don't like to hear the truth. But that doesn't mean that journalists or we should shy away from telling the truth, period. Sorry, okay. So what is blockchain good for when it comes to journalism? So I mentioned identity. Governance, tokens, okay? As you leave here today, and if you're interested in blockchain and cryptocurrency, and by the way, this isn't going away, in my opinion. It's not a trend, okay? This is a reaction to how the web has a centralized, or the web was very distributed in the beginning, but then evolved to become much more centralized, and I think this is a bit of a course correction for what's happened for everybody. So governance, this is about putting tokens, votes, your voice into the hands of you all, citizens, people. What matters? What if you had a token, a vote, and you could vote on some aspect of journalism? I don't know exactly what it is. I don't have all the answers, to be clear. But just thinking about, what if you could create a vote, a vote that is attached to you, your identity, your voice? Okay. Storage. The idea of blockchain and distributed networks is that because there are vast numbers of computers in blockchain networks, the information is distributed across all of them eventually, meaning that it's like trying to get rid of every copy of the newspaper. If you tried to get every copy of La Nación that went out today and tried to remove every single one of them, could you do it? No, of course not. So, same idea with blockchain. That's what permanence is about. That's the idea that the content is immutable, cannot be altered or changed. And I think that adds a lot to transparency, if that's what we're interested in, where you can see updates, a log, what's the latest version of the story, did we make a correction, can we push that content to the blockchain? That doesn't mean that everybody can see it all the time. It just means that it's there. So the UX in all of this for designers out there needs a ton of work. So please help on that. Licensing, syndication. Blockchain also offers an opportunity to fingerprint digital assets. So one of the biggest challenges for content creators, especially at scale, if you think about a wire service, is equitable monetization for creative content. I used to be a journalist, I was a freelancer, and I was, for a time in my career, I was a freelancer. And I always worried about, where did my content end up? Did somebody use this and I didn't get paid for it somewhere? And inevitably I'd get like a Google alert notification that something that I'd written or something would appear on somebody else's site, or a photo I came across, and I was always so annoyed. I had a good friend at Google when I worked there, Nick Whitaker. Some of you might know him. He's been here before, I think. He's a photographer. And it would just kill him to no end that his photos would appear on some silly, cheesy business site or something he never intended them for, because he also was a journalist before he joined Google. Okay.